Today, we're diving into one of the most baffling and tragic mysteries in modern aviation history. It's the story of a world-famous athlete's final flight and the ghost jet that silently carried him and 5 other people across an entire continent.
So picture this. It's a clear day in October 1999. A U.S. Air Force F-16 pilot is closing in on a private jet high above the American Midwest. The thing is, this jet is completely silent. It's not responding to any radio calls, it's just flying on its own. And no, this isn't some training exercise. This is a real-time emergency unfolding at 40,000 feet.
The F-16's mission was, on paper, pretty simple. Get alongside this Learjet, take a look inside, and figure out what in the world was going on. But what that pilot saw would only make the mystery deeper and create a story that's still chilling to this day.
As the pilot got close, his heart must have sunk. He noticed that the windows of the Learjet were completely frosted over, but from the inside. Now, to an experienced pilot, that means one thing, and it is not good. It's a telltale sign of a catastrophic loss of cabin pressure and a deep, deadly freeze inside the aircraft. This wasn't a hijacking. It was something way, way worse.
His report back to his command was just surreal. The plane was flying perfectly fine. The engines were humming, the autopilot was holding a steady course. Everything looked normal from the outside. But inside, nothing. He couldn't see a single person, no movement, not even a silhouette in the cockpit. Just those eerie, frosted-over windows. It was a perfectly functional airplane with absolutely nobody at the controls.
So that leads to the obvious question, right? Who was on board this ghost plane? Well, to answer that, we have to rewind the clock just a few hours.
The main passenger on that jet was none other than Payne Stewart. If you followed sports in the 90s, you know this guy. He was a huge star in the world of golf, famous for his incredible talent and his very unique throwback style of dress. And just a few weeks before this flight, at 42 years old, he'd won his 2nd U.S. Open. The man was at the absolute peak of his game.
And Stewart wasn't flying alone. He was traveling with 3 friends and business partners. And of course, there was an experienced 2-person flight crew up front, the pilot and the co-pilot. All told, there were 6 people on board that Learjet. All right, so let's go back to the very beginning of that day and see exactly how a completely routine flight turned into a national tragedy.
So, the flight started out totally normal. It took off from Orlando, Florida on its way to Dallas, Texas. But just 14 minutes into the flight, as the plane was climbing to its cruising altitude, radio contact just stopped. Air traffic controllers could only watch helplessly as the plane missed a scheduled turn and just kept flying straight, continuing to climb, all on autopilot.
For the next 4 hours, that plane flew like a ghost ship across the sky. So what exactly happened inside that frozen cabin? Well, the answer lies in the basic science of flying at high altitudes.
The key to this whole mystery is a term called cabin depressurization. See, when you're flying way up there, the air is much too thin to breathe. So airplanes are pressurized. They create an artificial environment inside that keeps you safe. But if that pressure is lost, the amount of oxygen that gets to your brain drops to critically low levels. This condition is called hypoxia, and what makes it so terrifyingly dangerous, especially if the pressure drops slowly, is that you don't feel like you're suffocating. You don't gasp for air. Instead, your brain is just quietly starved of oxygen. You make it a little confused, maybe even feel a little euphoric, and then you just fall unconscious, probably without ever even realizing you were in any danger at all.
And the result of everyone on board being silently incapacitated? Well, the flight path went completely off the rails. You can see here, the intended trip to Dallas was supposed to be around 1,500 kilometers. Instead, the ghost plane flew for almost 2,400 kilometers, taking it way, way off course, deep into the northern part of the country.
But a plane flying on autopilot can't stay in the air forever. Eventually, the simple laws of physics had to take over, bringing this tragic journey to its inevitable end.
After 4 long hours in the air, the engines finally sputtered and died as the fuel tanks ran dry. The F-16 pilot who was escorting the plane watched as it gently rolled over and entered a steep, uncontrolled spiral dive, plummeting towards the earth. It crashed into a remote field in South Dakota, thankfully far away from any towns or people.
So, the investigators recovered the black boxes, and what they found was absolutely chilling. The cockpit voice recorder had about 14 minutes of normal, routine pilot conversation. Then, a loud cabin pressure alarm blares. And after that, nothing. Just silence. The flight data recorder confirmed it. That alarm went off, but nobody did anything, likely because they were already incapacitated. The plane just kept flying on its own for hours.
So, the investigation confirmed what happened, right? A catastrophic loss of cabin pressure that incapacitated everyone on board. But even with all of that data, there was one huge question it could never, ever definitively answer.
Why? What caused the depressurization in the first place? Because the crash was so severe, the key parts of the pressurization system were basically obliterated. This left investigators with a lot of theories, but zero concrete proof.
And there were a lot of possibilities. Could it have been some kind of hidden structural failure in the plane's body? Maybe something as simple as a bad seal on a door or a window? Or a critical pressure valve that just decided to fail? Or was it, perhaps, some kind of critical human error made by the pilots during the climb? Any of them are plausible, but without the evidence, the true cause is still officially a mystery.
And that really leads to the final, haunting question that just hangs over this entire incident. We all know that emergency oxygen masks are supposed to drop in these situations. But if the loss of pressure was gradual enough, sneaky enough, it's entirely possible that nobody even realized they were in danger until it was far, far too late to do anything about it. It's a truly chilling reminder of just how fragile these environments we build can be, and of the invisible dangers that can exist at 40,000 feet.